My name is Samantha. I'm 32. And the night my family demanded half my bonus was the night I finally understood what I'd been in their minds all along. Not a daughter, not a sister, just a safety net with a PIN code. I'd barely stepped into my parents' house for our holiday dinner when the pressure started building in the air like a storm nobody wanted to name. I hadn't even sat down before I caught that familiar look across the room, the one that says, "You have something I want, and I'm about to make it your problem." And the wild part? I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself this time would be different, that I could share one good thing without it turning into a family negotiation. But then I pictured it, just for a second, like a flash of the future. My sister's voice cracking, my parents suddenly calling me reasonable, hands shaking as they begged me to fix this, and me standing there calm, untouchable, finally out of reach. That image should have scared me. Instead, it felt like relief. Because deep down, I already knew what was coming. The bonus wasn't just money to them, it was a test. A chance to see if I'd fold like I always did. And as I walked toward that dinner table, smiling like everything was fine, I couldn't shake the feeling that my bonus would soon become a topic of heated debate, one that would decide whether I was still family or suddenly selfish. Before I tell you what my dad shouted, what my sister tried to take, and what happened right after I walked out, tell me this. What time is it for you right now, and where are you watching from? I genuinely want to see how far this story travels. Dinner started the way it always did. Small talk with sharp edges, compliments that somehow felt like measurements, and that quiet scoreboard energy where everyone pretends they're joking but nobody is. I kept my tone light, kept my shoulders relaxed, kept my smile family-friendly, because in my house the first person to show emotion becomes the evening's entertainment. I didn't announce my bonus like a trophy. I mentioned it the way you mention a milestone to people who are supposed to be happy for you. Work's been intense, but it paid off. I got a big bonus. I expected, at most, a nod, a "good for you," maybe a half-hearted toast. Instead, the table shifted. My mother's eyes flicked to my father like they were silently calculating, and my sister, God, my sister, didn't even pretend to be happy. She leaned back like she'd been waiting for her cue, lips curling into that satisfied little smile that used to scare me when we were kids, the smile that always came right before she took something. "So," she said, dragging the word out, "how big are we talking, Sam?" I tried to play dumb. "It's decent." She laughed like I'd told the funniest joke. "Decent? That's adorable. You always do that. Downplay. Like we don't know you've got money now." I felt my stomach tighten, but I kept my voice even. "It's not money now. It's compensation. I earned it." "Exactly," she snapped, and the speed of that shift, sweet to sharp, was so practiced it felt rehearsed. "So you can share it." I blinked. "Share it?" She shrugged, like she was asking for a sip of water. "Half." The word hit the table like a dropped glass. "Give me half your bonus," she said, louder, braver, feeding off the silence. "I have kids. You're single. You don't need it the way I do." I waited for my parents to shut it down. I waited for my father to say, "That's not how this works." I waited for my mother to act like a mother. Instead, my mom nodded. Actually nodded. "She's not wrong," my mother said in that calm voice she uses when she wants to sound fair while being ruthless. "Family helps family. Helping is expected." My sister's eyes locked on mine, triumphant. This wasn't a request. It was a ritual. And suddenly, I remembered the pattern so clearly it made my skin prickle. Natalie escalates. My parents validate. I'm framed as the villain if I protect myself. It had happened with babysitting, with my old car, with my weekends, with my sanity. Once, Years ago, she borrowed my credit card for diapers and came back with salon bags and a brand new phone case, then cried that I was attacking a mother when I confronted her. My parents didn't ask what she bought. They asked why I was keeping score. Tonight felt exactly like that, just with bigger numbers and sharper teeth. I set my fork down slowly. No, I said. One syllable. Clean. My sister's smile twitched. My mother's face tightened like I'd slapped her. And my father, who'd been quiet, watching, finally spoke. Selfish? He said, voice rising fast, anger snapping into place. Only thinking of yourself. The room went still, like the house itself held its breath, and I realized this wasn't about my bonus at all. It was about control. Who I belonged to, who was allowed to profit from my work. I looked at my sister, then my parents, and for the first time I didn't feel guilt. I felt clarity. You want half my bonus? I said, standing. Then here's what you're going to get instead. My answer. I pushed my chair back. No, and I'm done being your family's emergency fund. My sister scoffed, but there was a crack in it, a flicker of panic she tried to hide. My mom's voice went cold. Sit down, don't embarrass us. My dad pointed like he could command me the way he used to when I was 17. You walk out that door and you'll regret it. I didn't argue. I didn't plead. I didn't negotiate. I just grabbed my coat, looked at them one last time, and walked out. And I swear, the second the door shut behind me, the silence felt like oxygen, until my phone buzzed, then buzzed again, and again. Because the moment I left, something shifted inside that house. They realized something, and it was already too late. The cold air outside didn't calm me at first. It sharpened everything. My hands were trembling, not from the temperature, but from the adrenaline of finally doing the one thing my family hates most, refusing to play my role. I walked down the driveway like I was escaping a burning building, and halfway to my car, I heard the front door open behind me. Samantha, my mom called, not worried, commanding. That voice that means, come back and be manageable. I kept walking. My sister's voice followed, louder, more desperate than she wanted it to sound. Are you seriously leaving over this? I stopped by my car and turned, because I was done running from their narratives. Over this? I said. You demanded half my bonus like it was rent I owe you. She threw her hands up. You're acting like I'm stealing from you. I'm asking for help. No, I said, and my voice surprised even me. Steady, flat, final. You're asking for entitlement dressed up as need. My mom marched down the steps, coat still unbuttoned, like she couldn't believe I was making her walk outside. You're being dramatic, she said. It's the holidays. I laughed once, short, bitter. You don't get to use Christmas as a muzzle. My dad appeared behind her, looming in the doorway like the judge of the house. If you can afford it, why wouldn't you help your sister? He demanded. Because she didn't ask, I said. She demanded, and you backed her. My sister's face hardened, then softened into performance. Sam, she said, suddenly syrupy, you know I'm struggling. The kids. Don't, I cut in. Don't use them like props. She flinched at that, and for a split second the mask slipped. So what? You're just going to hoard money while your nieces suffer? She snapped. You hear yourself? I said. You're threatening me with guilt like it's currency. My mom stepped closer, voice lower, more poisonous. You've always been stubborn, but you're not going to punish children to prove a point. That line, punish children, was their favorite weapon. They used it every time Natalie wanted something. If I said no, I was hurting kids. If I said yes, I was so generous. Either way, Natalie won. I felt something click into place, like a lock turning. You want the truth? I said. Fine. I'm not giving her half my bonus. And I'm also not covering anything else until we reset the rules. My dad's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? It meant everything. It meant the quiet stuff they never thanked me for. The temporary bills that became permanent. The subscriptions, the emergency payments, the little gaps Natalie always had that my parents somehow expected me to fill because I was the one who could. They acted like it was invisible, like it didn't count, because I didn't make a speech about it. It means, I said, starting tonight, I'm not the backup plan. If Natalie needs help, she can ask like an adult, with a budget, with a plan, and with respect. If you want to support her, do it with your money. My sister barked a laugh. Oh my God, listen to you. You think you're some CEO now. No, I said. I think I'm a person. She stepped closer, eyes bright with anger. You're single, Sam. You don't understand what real responsibility is. That one hit, because it was the insult they always used when they ran out of arguments. If I didn't have kids, my life didn't count. I took a slow breath. My responsibility is my life, I said. My work, my future, my peace. And I'm done letting you treat those like leftovers. My mom's face tightened. So you're cutting your sister off? I'm setting boundaries, I corrected. And you can call it whatever makes you feel better. My dad stepped down one stair, voice dropping into that quiet threat tone. You're going to regret this. Maybe, I said, but not as much as I regret the years I spent buying your approval. My sister's eyes flicked to my phone in my hand, and I saw the calculation. If she couldn't win with guilt, she'd win with pressure. You're not leaving until we settle this, she said, like she could trap me with a sentence. I stared at her, then at my parents, and I realized the real revenge they feared wasn't me yelling, it was me leaving. So I opened my car door. Watch me, I said. And then I did something small but surgical, something that wasn't dramatic, just decisive. I pulled up my banking app and turned off the autopay I'd had set for months for a bill Natalie temporarily couldn't handle. One tap. That's all it took. My sister didn't know yet. My parents didn't know yet. But the clock started ticking right then, in the driveway, under their porch light, while they still thought they could shame me back into obedience. I slid into my seat, started the engine, and drove away while my mother shouted my name like it was a leash. And behind me, inside that warm house, the consequences were already loading. I didn't drive far, not because I wanted to go back, because I needed space to think without their voices rewriting my reality. I pulled into a quiet parking lot a few minutes away, the kind of place where the world feels paused, and I let my hands rest on the steering wheel until they stopped shaking. That's when my phone lit up again. Not my parents. Not my sister. A different name. Jenna. Jenna was the one person who never asked me to shrink to make someone else comfortable. My best friend, my closest ally, the person who knew the whole history, not just the version my family tells at dinner. I answered, and before I could say hello, she said, "Where are you?" I exhaled like my lungs had been holding a secret. "I left," I said. "Good," she replied immediately, no hesitation. "Tell me what happened." I gave her the condensed version, the bonus, the demand, the Weir family, the way my dad's face changed the moment I said no. Jenna didn't gasp. She didn't say, "But they're your family." She said, "Okay, so what's your move?" That question hit different. Not, "How do you fix it?" but, "What do you do next?" I stared out at the dark windshield. "I don't want to fight," I said. I can't keep being their bank." Jenna's voice softened but stayed firm. "Then stop. Not in theory. In practice." I swallowed. "It's not that easy." "It is," she said. "It's just uncomfortable. And you've been trained to confuse discomfort with danger. That was so true it made my throat tighten. They'll say I'm punishing the kids, I said. Jenna's answer was instant. Natalie is responsible for her kids. Period. Your parents are responsible for the boundaries they refuse to enforce. Period. I rubbed my forehead. What if they cut me off? Jenna gave a short laugh. Sam, they don't have you. They access you, and you've been handing them the password. Silence stretched. Then she said, Listen, if you want to end this, you need a plan that doesn't rely on them suddenly growing empathy. I blinked. A plan? Yes, Jenna said. A real one, like a business plan. Step 1, lock your finances down. No more autopays for anyone else. Step 2, stop discussing your money with them. Bonus, salary, none of it. Step 3, if they're using your name for anything, accounts, subscriptions, cosigns, you cut it. My stomach dropped. They're not using my name? Jenna paused. Are you sure? And suddenly I remembered that weird phone call months ago, Natalie asking for my social security number, for a school form, my mom insisting it was easier if Sam handles it, my dad getting defensive when I asked why. My skin went cold. I don't know, I admitted. Jenna's tone sharpened. Then you check. Tonight. I stared at my reflection in the windshield, my face pale, eyes bright with that old familiar guilt that always came right before surrender. Jenna interrupted it like she could hear my thoughts. Sam, you can love them and still say no. You can care about the kids and still refuse manipulation. And if Natalie wants half your bonus, she can start by earning half your discipline. I let out a breath that sounded like a laugh and a sob at the same time. What if they come after me? Jenna's reply was calm, almost clinical. Then you document everything. You keep it clean. Boundaries aren't revenge, Sam. They're protection. But when people are used to exploiting you, protection feels like revenge. I stared at my phone, and that flash forward from earlier flickered again. My family panicking, calling me reasonable when they needed something, not because they respected me. I felt something settle in my chest. Okay, I said. I'm done. Jenna's voice warmed. Good. Now decide what your bonus is for. Not their needs. Yours. I looked down at the numbers in my bank account like they were a door I'd never been allowed to open fully. I was going to invest, I said quietly. I was going to build something. A cushion. Freedom. Then do it, Jenna said. And stop apologizing for wanting a life. I sat there, engine off, night around me, and for the first time the word family didn't sound like a chain. It sounded like a choice. I'm not going back tonight, I said. Jenna didn't push. Good, she said. Go home. Sleep. And tomorrow you put everything in writing. One message, clear rules. No debate. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. And if they blow up? Let them, Jenna said. Their explosion is not your responsibility. I ended the call and sat in the quiet, listening to my own heartbeat. Then my phone buzzed again. A missed call. Then another. Then another. My dad. My mom. Natalie. Over and over, like they could ring me back into obedience. And that's when I realized they weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because they were losing control. By the time I got home, it was late, but my mind was bright and sharp like I'd finally stepped out from under a fog. I didn't pour a drink. I didn't pace. I sat at my kitchen table the way I sit before a big meeting, calm, focused, ready to make decisions that affect my future. I opened my laptop and started checking everything Jenna warned me about. Because if my family had taught me anything, it was that trust us usually means don't look too closely. First, I went through my bank statements. I found the autopay I'd just turned off, labeled like it was a utility, but tied to an account Natalie used. Then I found another payment I didn't recognize. Smaller, monthly, easy to miss. It took me a minute to trace it, but when I did, my stomach dropped. It was a subscription plan for a family bundle service, registered to my email, used on devices I didn't own. I kept digging. Password reset requests, login alerts, two-factor codes I never asked for. My throat tightened. It wasn't just entitlement at dinner. It was access. And then I found it. The thing that made my hands go cold. An email from a lender months back about updated terms on a refinance inquiry. The subject line included my name. I clicked it and read the first sentence twice because my brain refused to accept it. It referenced co-borrower review. Co-borrower. I wasn't co-borrowing anything. I stared at the screen, heartbeat loud in my ears, and suddenly that weird phone call about my SSN wasn't weird anymore. It was a clue. My phone buzzed again. Natalie. I didn't answer. My mom. I didn't answer. My dad. I didn't answer. I wasn't going to fight on their schedule. I was going to act on mine. I changed passwords first. Email, banking, everything. I turned on extra security. I checked my credit through the official channels available to me and froze it, because whatever this was, I wasn't letting it grow. Then I drafted one message, the kind that doesn't invite debate. No insults, no crying, just lines like steel. I love you, but my finances are not family property. My bonus is not up for discussion. Do not request money again in a group setting. Do not use my personal information for any account, service, loan, or application. If anything exists with my name attached without my consent, it must be corrected immediately. If these boundaries are ignored, I will step back from contact. I read it 3 times and felt the old guilt rise. Then I remembered my dad yelling selfish, like it was a verdict. And the guilt evaporated into anger so clean it felt like clarity. I hit send to a family group chat and put my phone face down. For 10 minutes, nothing. Then the responses started. My mom. How could you accuse us? My dad. You're overreacting. Natalie. So now I'm a criminal. Wow. And there it was. No apology. Just outrage that I dared to notice. Natalie called me directly, back to back, like she could bully me through a screen. When I finally answered, I kept my voice calm on purpose. What? I said. She didn't start with, "Are you okay?" She started with, "You embarrassed me." I almost laughed. "You tried to take half my bonus," I said. "You embarrassed yourself." Her voice tightened. I was asking for help. "You were demanding," I corrected. "And now I'm asking for something. Tell me why my name showed up on a refinance email." Silence, a beat too long. Then she scoffed. "Oh my God, you're spying now." I felt my jaw tighten. "Answer the question." She exhaled sharply, then went into that familiar victim tone. "I didn't do anything. Mom and Dad were just looking into options. It's not a big deal." My blood went cold. "Options," I repeated. "Options involving my credit?" She snapped. "You make it sound evil. We were trying to keep the house stable." And there it was. The twist. Not a charity request. A leverage move. A plan. The dinner demand wasn't random. It was pressure for a bigger goal. "What did you do?" I asked quietly. She hesitated again. "Nothing serious," she muttered. We put your name down to see what we'd qualify for. We didn't finalize anything." I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles hurt. "You used my information without permission," I said, voice still calm, which somehow made it scarier. "Do you understand how serious that is?" She snapped. "Don't lecture me like you're better than me." "I'm not better," I said. "I'm just not reckless." She started crying, on cue. "You don't care about the kids," she sobbed. "You'd let us lose everything." I closed my eyes because she always used tears as a smoke bomb. Natalie, I said, this ends tonight. You don't get to threaten me with chaos you created. My mom jumped into the call on speaker, because of course she did. Samantha, don't blow this up, she pleaded. We were only exploring. You're making it sound like fraud. Because it is, I said, and the silence that followed was so thick I could almost hear their fear. My dad's voice cut in, harsh and urgent now, not righteous. We can explain, he said. Just come over, we'll talk. There it was, the switch, the scramble, the sudden need for discussion. I leaned back in my chair. No, I said. We're not talking our way out of this. My dad snapped, don't threaten your family. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult him. I just delivered the line that changed everything. Then stop using my name like it belongs to you, I said. Because if you don't fix it, I will. Legally. And that was the moment the calls became frantic. Not angry. Not moral. Panicked. Because they finally realized the thing I'd realized hours earlier. I wasn't walking away to be dramatic. I was walking away to protect myself. And they couldn't guilt-trip me out of consequences. They called to punish me. Now they called to punish me. Now they called like I was the only person who could save them from what they'd done. My dad left 3 voicemails in a row, each one softer than the last, like he was bargaining down from authority to desperation. My mom texted paragraphs about misunderstandings and family stress, and, we'd never hurt you, as if intentions erase paperwork. Natalie sent voice notes that bounced between sobbing and rage, blaming me for going nuclear, then begging me to please just help this once, then switching again to, you think you're so perfect. I listened to none of it. I did what Jenna told me. Document, protect, clean steps. I wrote down times, saved screenshots, forwarded the lender email to myself, and then I did the part that felt like revenge but was really just reality. I removed access. The family bundle subscription? Canceled. The shared account logins I'd been nice about? Changed. The autopays? Off. Any shared services that were quietly draining my money like a tax on my existence? Gone. Then I emailed the lender back. Short, professional, factual. I did not authorize any application or inquiry with my personal information. Please flag and confirm removal. No drama, just a paper trail. My phone rang again. Dad. I answered this time not because I was ready to forgive, but because I wanted one thing, truth. Tell me exactly what you submitted, I said. My dad exhaled like he'd been running. Sam, it was just a pre-check, he said. Nothing final. That's not an answer, I replied. What information did you provide? Silence. Then he said, quieter. You're social. My stomach twisted. And you thought that was okay. We're your parents, he snapped, then immediately softened. We weren't thinking. You were thinking, I said. You were just thinking I'd never find out. My mom cut in, voice trembling. We were trying to keep the house from falling behind, she said. Your father's hours got cut, and Natalie... Stop, I said. Don't stack your emergencies on my back. Natalie shouted in the background. She's doing this to punish me. I laughed once, sharp. No, Natalie, I said. You did this to punish me. You wanted me scared. You wanted me compliant. My dad's voice turned pleading. We'll fix it, he said. Just don't involve anyone. The irony was almost impressive. The man who screamed selfish at the dinner table was now terrified of consequences. Here's what's going to happen, I said, voice level like I was leading a meeting. Tomorrow morning, you will call the lender and retract anything submitted with my information. You will confirm in writing that my name is not attached to any loan inquiry or application. Natalie will delete any copies of my information she has and confirm she did. And after that, we will discuss boundaries. Calmly, when I'm ready. My mom whispered, "You're treating us like strangers." "No," I said. "I'm treating you like adults." Natalie burst into loud sobs again. "You hate me," she cried. "You've always hated me." That lie was her favorite blanket. If I held her accountable, it meant I didn't love her. I didn't take the bait. "I don't hate you," I said. "I just don't trust you with my life anymore." That line landed like a door closing. My dad's voice cracked. "We raised you," he said, as if that was a contract. "And I grew up," I replied. "Which means you don't get to own me." Another pause. Then my mom said, "Small, what do you want from us?" I stared at the wall, eyes stinging, not from sadness, just from the exhaustion of years of being the reasonable one. "I want you to stop using the word family as a weapon," I said. "I want you to stop rewarding Natalie's tantrums and punishing my boundaries. I want you to respect that my money is mine. And I want you to understand something. If you ever put my name on anything again, you won't get a phone call. You'll get a letter." My dad whispered, "Okay." It was the first time all night anyone had actually accepted a boundary without twisting it into an insult. After I hung up, the calls slowed, not because they suddenly respected me, but because they finally understood I meant it. I slept for 4 hours, woke up to another string of messages, and didn't feel panic. I felt power. Because the truth is, the moment you stop negotiating with manipulation, the whole system starts collapsing. And that collapse is loud, at first. Then it gets quiet. That quiet is freedom. You felt pressured. Another day, it was apology bait. "We're sorry if you felt pressured." Another day, it was blame. "You're tearing the family apart." Natalie rotated through identities like outfits: the wounded mother, the misunderstood sister, the victim of my coldness. But something had changed in me. The old Samantha would have rushed to fix it. This new version of me waited for actions, not words. I didn't show up to talk it out at their kitchen table where my dad could loom and my mom could sigh and Natalie could cry on command. I suggested a neutral place, a set time, and an agenda, because if they wanted access to me again, they could meet me in adulthood. When we finally sat down, public, daytime, no home field advantage, my dad looked smaller than I remembered. My mom looked tired in a way I hadn't allowed myself to notice before. Natalie looked angry that she didn't have an audience. I started with one sentence. "My bonus is not a family resource." Natalie rolled her eyes. "Still on that?" "Yes," I said, because it wasn't about one dinner, it was about a pattern. I listed it. Not every detail, just enough. Money requests, guilt tactics, my information being used without consent. My mom's eyes watered, but I didn't stop. I wasn't being cruel. I was being accurate. My dad tried to interrupt. Old habit. I held up my hand. "I'm not here to argue," I said. "I'm here to set terms." Natalie snapped. "So what? You're cutting us off?" "I'm not cutting you off," I replied. "I'm ending the version of this relationship where you benefit from me while disrespecting me." Then I offered a choice. If Natalie needed help, it would be structured, one-time, transparent, with a plan. No more blank checks, no more emergency theatrics, and absolutely no more public shaming. Natalie's face reddened. "You think you're better than me because you have a career," she hissed. I looked her in the eye. "No," I said. "I think I'm safer, without letting you treat my success like your paycheck." My dad swallowed hard. "We didn't realize," he said. "You did," I replied. "You just didn't care because it was convenient." That was the hardest part, saying it out loud, because admitting your family used you feels like admitting you were naive. But truth is not humiliation. It's a starting point. My mom whispered, "We were scared." And for the first time, it sounded real, not strategic. I nodded once. "Then be scared," I said. "But don't steal my peace to soothe your fear." The conversation didn't end with a group hug. It ended with boundaries written down and agreed to, at least on paper. And here's the flash forward part I promised myself I'd earn. About 8 months later, Natalie got a job. Not a glamorous one, not one she could brag about. But she stopped calling me like an ATM. My parents stopped framing my no as betrayal. And the funniest part? The more I withheld my money, the more they finally offered respect. Like respect had been sitting on a shelf the whole time, reserved only for the version of me they couldn't control. I won't pretend it was perfect. Some days I still felt the old guilt creep in. But then I'd remember my dad yelling selfish, my mom nodding, Natalie smirking, like my work belonged to them. And I'd remember what it felt like to walk out and choose myself. So let me ask you, if your own family demanded half your hard-earned win because they have kids and you're single, what would you do in my shoes? Would you pay for peace? Or would you finally charge them the cost of disrespect? At Revenge Argon, our team works hard to create powerful, meaningful scripts. This story is purely fictional, made to share positive lessons and educational value with our viewers. I respect how the main character stayed calm, set firm